This is a podcast for spiritual downloads, star seeds, light workers, and authenticity. Spiritual awareness is advised. Welcome to the 1111 Synchronized Podcast. Let's all start by breathing it in and breathing it out. Welcome to a new week. Congratulate yourself for making it thus far. You survived a week of incredible shakeups, as there is a lot going on in the astrals right now. We just had a full moon, a lunar eclipse, retrograde season. All of these things are coming up to the surface. So if it's been challenging, I know it's tough out there, just breathe it in and breathe it out. So we are moving on with this season. If you haven't heard the previous episode, Awakening and Welcoming the Divine Feminine, I would encourage you to go back and listen to that previous episode. Regardless of gender, these are not gender specific, as we all carry divine masculine and divine feminine energy. This is for anyone, whether you identify with a gender or not. Please listen to them. Share them with people who you think may also benefit from it. Now, at the same token, I do understand that we come into these binary conditions and these bodies that have their own set of programs and their own set of conditioning. So there are certain things that affect men and women differently, and I honor all of that. And I will have a special guest joining me later on, so please stay tuned for that. And if you haven't heard yet, the gift that I gave the divine feminine, I'm also giving a gift to the divine masculine. Now, I believe the best way to give a gift is to give a gift with the recipient in mind. So if you checked out the previous episode and you claimed your gift, and even if you're just now joining here, you can go back and listen to that and claim that gift as well. But your gift, divine masculine, is a little bit different. It's the same, but slightly different. So honoring the fact that they say men are visual creatures, I'm leaving a gift in the description for you as well. And your gift is Epic the Musical full animated version. So that way you can see all the different artistic expressions of this journey. Now, Epic is a musical written, directed, performed by Jorge, who I believe was a student and did this as like a graduate thesis or such. And this is based on Homer's The Odyssey. So it gives the epic journey, adventure, and tale of Odysseus. So please check out your gift, claim your gift. They're for you. You can share them, of course, but they are for you to ground in this energy, as we are all going through so much right now. And I just want you all to know that you're doing a great job just by doing your best, just by showing up every day. And I want you to know that your best is enough. No matter where you are, no matter what season you're in or what level of consciousness you bring, whatever it is, it does not matter. You are right where you need to be. And doing your best every day, giving it your all, that is more than enough. So as I've mentioned, I have a special guest that will be joining me later. My special guest is the author of Good Morning, My Queen: How to Keep Up with Your Spiritually Evolving Partner Before You Lose Her Forever. So stay tuned for that. There will be information in the description as well if you want to connect with these energies. And as always, if you have a topic request that you would like to send, you can send it in. Or if you would like to be a feature as well, please reach out. My contact information is in the description. Reach out via email or hit me up on IG and let me know how you would like to collaborate. Now, as I mentioned, it's a known fact that we say men are visual creatures. Now, the thing with that is there can be a shadow to that as well. Because as we are spiritual beings having a human experience, a big part of spirituality is to learn to walk by faith and not by sight. So this can be a potential pitfall for the masculine energy, is to learn how to open your spiritual eyes, to open your third eye. Because what you see may not be what you see, and that things that appear may not be actually what they are. So you have to ground in and learn how to walk by your spiritual sight. And that requires tapping into your divine feminine energy. So we're going to dive into all of this. And if you are on this journey and you want someone to assist you, guide you through this, I do offer donation-based counseling. As a clinical mental health therapist, I do provide donation-based therapy for the masses. So if you feel ready to embark on that journey, I would encourage you, whether through myself or through someone else, to really prioritize your health and wealth, prioritize your mental health, prioritize your peace, prioritize yourself. Because the divine masculine has had to carry such a weight and had to carry such a burden. And we're here to help. We're here to help hold that space. We're here to help guide you through becoming your best version. Well, I guess that resonates for some too. But becoming your best, truest, authentic self. And going through the journey of the labyrinth of your mind to help find that inner peace. And if you haven't known this already, I do also have a YouTube channel. So for those who are preferring more of a visual element, I've been going back and creating a visual representation for my previous episodes that were not being recorded, as the ones in the future are, including this one. So if you want to see those, please go back and check those out. Subscribe to the YouTube channel. If you're watching this on YouTube right now and you feel compelled to give this a thumbs up, go right ahead. Subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. And if you're also someone who understands and resonates with music and the vibrations that we all ingest in the frequencies, to help raise your frequencies, I've created playlists as well, music playlists and podcast playlists. So you can find this episode and other episodes like this. This will be in the Divine Feminine, Divine Masculine playlist. You can check all of those out on Spotify. You can leave comments, etc. And just as a way to give back, I do also offer dream interpretations. We are closing up this season, wrapping up this cycle. And so dreams in the subconscious could be really active right now. So if you're having trouble sleeping, just know that it's all right. Most people are. Just take a deep breath and just rest when you can. And know that taking naps are perfectly fine. They're much needed. And if you also want to get some gear, as in outfits, clothing, you want to represent the 1111 channel, check out the merch store. Get yourself some merch gear. And as always, I appreciate your guys' feedback, your comments, your reviews, whether it's on Apple or through Spotify or wherever platform you're listening to this on. I greatly appreciate it. And finally, if you want to be a part of this community, this empire that I'm building brick by brick from the ground up, if you have a special talent or gift, or you just want to be a part of the stage crew, whatever it is, you want to help in some way, by all means, reach out. Let's see how we can collaborate and build this empire if you would like to be part of that. Now, diving right into this divine masculine message. The divine masculine has been undergoing a process for some time now. It's been shedding limiting beliefs. It's been facing the deep shadow that we all carry. And understanding, where does this stem from? Where does this come from? What started this? What was the seed that has planted in the hearts of many that has evolved into what we call where we are now in society? So as always, these messages are not necessarily focused on, it's more of a spirituality understanding of things. Now, I may reference historical times or religious times, but you do not have to be religious whatsoever to understand and grasp the concepts that we're discussing. So going back to the very beginning, the story of Adam. Most of us are familiar with the story of Adam and Eve in the garden. They found some fruit and they awakened, or they awakened to the knowledge of good and evil. Now, going back to the story of Adam. Again, this is not regarding religion, but it is to understand that this subconscious belief and these energies reside within us and have a legacy and have persisted for eons. So to really understand, we must go back to the story of Adam. Now, Adam was the first human created, according to the story of Adam and Eve. And the universe, God, source, whatever you want to call it, made everything in existence. Made all the planets, made all the animals, made all the vegetables, made everything. And once everything was made Adam, the first human. And then I've been really processing this download that I received to understand some of the consciousness. Now, I've mentioned this before, that I do consider myself two-spirit, as the Native Americans understood. There were certain people who understood different consciousness, different levels of consciousness. And this was downloaded to me of the story of Adam being a key point of why things have happened and transpired the way they have. Because when Source, the universe, arrived and said, it is not good for men to be alone. Men should not be alone. Now that's a whole nother topic, because that passage, scripture, etc., has been misused for beyond time. It's been so misused, and we're not even touching that right now. But nonetheless, that quote has created a subconscious fear. It's created a subconscious limiting belief in the masculine consciousness that has ruptured into this feeling of a fear of being alone. Because your creator says it's not good for you to be alone. So now there's this thought that says, wait, why is it not good for me to be alone? So there's this sense of, I am inherently bad or wrong, and if left to my own devices, I'll wreak havoc. It's not good for me to be alone, meaning I must not be enough. It's not good for me to be alone. Therefore, if I'm alone, I'll be abandoned. Or if I'm not, quote, good enough, I will have to face this fear of being alone. And based on just that principle, it's really unearthed a trauma, a fear of being alone. So now you have men in masculine consciousness that will do anything to avoid that pain of being alone. They'll lie, they'll cheat, they'll steal, they'll do whatever they need to do to ensure their safety. And that fear of being alone is also not allowing men to be loved for who they are. Because now they have to perform. Now they have to be loved for what they can do in the bedroom. They give their body away. They give their money away. They're focused on, let me just get enough wealth. Let me get enough cars. Let me get enough women. Let me get enough, etc. So that way I'm needed and wanted. And because of that, we've created a whole society that's built a structure on allowing men to avoid that pain, to avoid never feeling alone. We've started off a society where women were seen as property. Whoever had enough money could basically purchase whatever woman they wanted, many women if they wanted. So that way they never have to feel alone. And you create a society that says, we won't give out equal pay. So that way we won't allow ourselves to never be needed. We won't allow the feminine consciousness to rise. And then we're no longer needed. We need the 1950s housewives. We need that image, because if we're no longer feeling needed, what do we have to offer? That's the masculine wound. And what happens is you struggle and you go through all these things to try to gain all of this stuff so that way you're needed and never really truly being wanted. Because believe it or not, your divine counterpart will want you. Which means you have to show up with more than just your body. Which means you have to show up with more than just your wallet. You have to actually bring you to the table. And if you have a subconscious belief that you are not enough, or that you are not good, or that you are not worthy, that is going to sabotage every connection. Because you don't believe you deserve to be wanted just for who you are. You're like, wait, no, I must do this. I must I must do acts of service. I must, really fight and show that I'm all of these things and more. So that way I don't have to feel that abandonment. If you knew I was just nothing, you would abandon me. And it's impossible to just love me for me, because I was told I was not good alone. I should not be alone. So understanding that, and we see that through celebrities, we see that through history, we see that through all these different things, this fear of being alone. For example, when a woman, a strong, powerful woman, divine feminine, when she experiences widowhood, for example, most times women can go years without remarrying. I'm thinking of celebrities like Betty White. God bless her soul. Betty White, amazing. But when she found her person, she said, when you've had the best, you no longer need the rest. And she never remarried after that person transitioned to the ancestral realm. She never remarried after that. Then you have the polar opposite side of men who have great women, are seemingly to us. And I'm thinking of celebrities such as Bobby Brown. Bobby Brown married to Whitney Houston. When she passes, it's probably like a year span at tops, right? Before he got remarried. And you see this pattern repeat where you see men just move on rather quickly. And you're like, dang, bro, did you even love her? Like, what? But it has nothing to do with not loving someone else. It has to do with the lack of loving oneself and the subconscious fear. I am not good alone. I should not be alone. Now, it can show up as that, and it can also show up as entitlement. I shouldn't be alone, and I have the expectation that someone else will always be there. Whether that's your moms, your grandma, your family, whoever, your children, you have this expectation, and it can lead into entitlement. What do you mean you want to leave? No, you can't leave. You can't go anywhere, and it can become abusive. And it can become a way to avoid feeling that deep pain. And so a lot of the masculine energy, men specifically, will cope with this shame through a lot of different ways. Now, just to name a few, of course, there are many ways that can happen, but just to name a few, the biggest root of men's pain and suffering, I would say, comes from shame. But instead of facing that shame, most people, when they feel shame, what do? They hide, they run, they scatter, gone. And I'm not trying to make light of it, but that's what happens often. Now, the other thing that can happen for those embodied as males is they will project their shame. So, for example, you've maybe heard the word slut shaming, which always refers to a woman. So if a woman does the same exact behaviors as a man, if she sleeps around, if she's a player, if she's whatever, has, cares more about status and money, oh, she's going to be slut shamed. She's going to be, well, what does she do to get to that role? She's going to be, oh, she's a B word because of XYZ. She's going to be, slut shamed essentially. If a woman sleeps with the same amount that a man would sleep with, she's going to be slut shamed. And what that is to project that same narrative on, projecting that onto your counterpart helps you alleviate the pain of not feeling that yourself. And that has gone on for years. Men will say a woman is a gold digger for wanting me only for my money. But then they'll turn around and want a woman to caretake and to do tons of emotional work for them, but not see the irony and the reflection that is actually highlighted here. So that's an example of projecting when you're trying to get rid of your own shame. But then there's also the blaming behavior. And we see that in the storyline of Adam. When source consciousness comes and says, who told you you were naked? Who told you this? The first thing out of Adam's mouth, it was the woman. It was the woman you gave me. Because he didn't want to feel that pain of failure. He didn't want to feel that pain of shame to say, I wasn't responsible. You told me not to take part in this, and I still did. And now I feel guilty and embarrassed and ashamed. And instead of owning that and stepping up to that, I'm going to blame someone else. So that's another way that other people may cope with the shame that they feel about their own behavior. And then another classic one is lying. Now, this one is so funny to me because it doesn't make sense. And I recently had a customer, I had a client customer come in and, they're like, hey, I have these charges on my account. Can you help me figure out what it is? I'm like, sure thing. Let's do this. I'm like, well, it looks like it's coming from Tinder. And this guy just gets so blatantly upset. He's like, no way. He's like, that's not me. I don't know who did that. And he's like, where is this coming from? I said, well, the name on the account is yours. I'm not accusing you. I'm not saying you did this. I'm just letting you know. Maybe someone else stole your identity. I don't know. I'm not here to get you to face your shadow. I'm just here to help you find this charge here. And, he's just like adamant. And he's sitting here trying to prove to me, I'm married. I have 4 kids. He's like, I know you might not care about that, but it means something to me. Cool. Awesome story, bro. I'm just like, look, do you want help or not? Like, and he's going on this rant of how this is not him. And I'm just like, dude, I don't care. Like, I don't care. And then you hear songs like a song that you might have heard a while back from Shaggy. It wasn't me. Caught red-handed. It wasn't me. So to me, it's funny because I don't understand how people can actually be okay with that. But I guess it's not for me to understand, But I really do want to know, like, what reality are people in? And again, I'm not trying to call anyone out that does this or copes with this. It is a coping strategy to deal with trauma. So there's nothing inherently wrong about it. And I'm not judging anyone harshly for doing any of these coping strategies. Is to understand when you are trying to cope with trauma, you have to go into that wound and find out, why do I feel like I have to do this? And it always has its roots in childhood. So maybe you were blamed for something. Maybe you were accused of something and you felt the only way to get out of it was to lie. And I definitely understand that. So I don't want to be insensitive to the masculine consciousness. Now, another part of the shadow programming that this cycle has brought in the feminine consciousness is to tiptoe and to walk on eggshells around the masculine consciousness, because you don't want to feel the fury and the rage and the fire of calling out the masculine, because they will somehow make you unsafe, whether that's through threats, whether that's through exposure. All the things they don't want to have done to themselves, they will do to you, whether it's violence, whether it's slander, whatever it may be. So there can be and has been a tiptoeing around to appease, to fawn, to make sure that the masculine is not challenged too much, because if they're challenged too much, they will become angry and defensive. And that's kind of the last point of how to cope with the shame in the masculine energy, is becoming defensive or even downright abusive. And I mentioned in the previous episode that I spoke with a client who was definitely resonating on the skexy side. And that client, we could talk all day about anything except for himself. As soon as we talked about him, it was like a whole different person came up. And that was part of his diagnosis anyway, or I don't really believe in diagnosis, but that was a part of his trauma makeup, is that was a known thing that he would do. And, I'm not here as a counselor. I'm not here to push anyone before they're ready. So if a client is avoiding the reality or avoiding a truth, I let them, because I'm not here to tell you when you're ready to face that or what that even looks like for you. I'm here to hold your hand through it and to encourage you while you figure it out. It's not my issue, so it has no bearing on me. I know that you'll be better off to free yourself from it and to heal it, but I know everyone is not here for that either. So what has happened in society is that there has been a shift in power. And you saw this like in early 2000s, where there was a shift in power where the divine feminine started to rise and started to become independent and, really throwing off the shackles of feeling powerless and really feeling like, wait, I'm worthy. I want to work. I want to do these things. Like, I want to be the CEO. Why would I just go marry the CEO when I could be the CEO? You know? And so when that happened, the shift in power created a deeper wound in the masculine, because an alternative version in an alternative reality, another timeline, the masculine would have saw that and rise to the challenge. But instead, most masculine energies subconsciously went into powerlessness themselves. Because oftentimes what happens is when there's a power dynamic that shifts, most people fear the opposite happening. So if, for example, someone has had power for so long, when it starts to shift, the assumption is that those who were being subjugated to that power will now wreak havoc on the people who abuse that power. So for example, back in 1800s, when slavery was coming to an end, I'm sure the slave masters, and even now you'll see it still, and Europeans or Caucasians or however it might show up, that people have this wound or subconscious fear that the slaves, if they gained power, that they will want to do the same things that the slave masters did to the slaves. So the fear of Black people, of African American people, is really an illusion, because it's a projection of their own wounds oftentimes. And so the same thing happened with the shift in women gaining power. Is, oh no, they're going to objectify us. We have to be against the feminists because they want to control us. Now, of course, there are some women who do want that. And that's not the divine feminine, in my opinion. That's not the divine at all. The divine wants us both to rise in our consciousness and both to help each other, not to tear each other down, not to belittle, not to shame, not any of this BS that we've done to each other. And I do think it's time out for all of that, all of the games, all of the projections, all of that. But part of the karmic balance was to allow the masculine or the men to feel what it would feel like to not feel needed. And even still, there can be a pushback with that. They'll make a song or a catchy tune. Yeah, I love independent women, but you still gonna need us for that good. You still gonna need us at some point. And it's like, you're missing it. Just celebrate. Just celebrate the rise of the feminine consciousness without you feeling offended, triggered, or insecure about it. Because it's not to replace you. That's another subconscious fear. Oh, the women will replace us and will no longer be needed. Again, it goes back to the feeling of not being needed. But once you step out of that, you won't want to be needed anymore. You'll really, truly just want to be wanted. The divine feminine doesn't need you. She wants you. There's a key difference there. Major difference. So I'm going to go ahead and bring this up to closing, but the way that we get back to this time is to really understand that transparency, vulnerability, unity, all of those things are the way forward. So we have to start having honest conversations with each other. Back in ancient times, men would teach each other how to provide safety for each other. There was not this fear of no homo bro and all this extra stuff. There was a different level of understanding. And there was a certain love that you had for one another. And so the way to really heal this is to reveal the things that we want to hide. Because your divine counterpart loves you just as you are and will actually appreciate the things that you hide instead. Because if you have a fear that you'll be judged or ridiculed, it always goes back to your caregivers. That when you were vulnerable, when you were sensitive, you were ridiculed for it, you were shamed for it, you were judged for it. Someone who loves you doesn't do that to you. Someone that may want to control you or make you into their own image, certainly they might do that. But not true love. Doesn't do anything like that. So we're going to go ahead and take a miniature break. I'm going to leave all of the resources and references that I would encourage you all to check out. Again, if you haven't already submitted those topic requests, please do. Go ahead and subscribe to the channel. Book yourself a a counseling session, connect with me outside of these topics, anything of the like. And there's always more to digest. There's always more to learn. But I think this is well enough for now. And I encourage you to dive deeper on this yourself and to connect to your own source, because no one can tell you better than you. So thank you all for being here. And after the break, I have my special guest, the author, writer, publishing, all of it will be showing up after this. So let's take a short break and then we will continue. All right, welcome back to the 1111 podcast. I have a very special guest today. So like I always like to say, I'm going to let your energy introduce yourself. So please tell us about yourself. Anything you want to share.
Well, thank you, Kendra. My name is Scott Ware. I'm a writer. I'm a lover of life and a lover of love, pursuit of love. And definitely of the metaphysical. I love to figure out how life works, how reality works, how I work in connection with it. And for that reason, my interests are varied, as you can imagine. If you're that kind of spiritual person, and I say spiritual, I don't mean religious, I just mean spiritual as in the investigation of oneself, know thyself, because I want to be free, and I know that you get more freedom in delving into myself, to free myself of limiting beliefs, for instance, and to be totally free. And that means working with childhood traumas, working with my inner child, all that sort of thing. All that comes into play in the book I just wrote, which prompted this interview, called Good Morning, My Queen. How to keep up with your spiritually evolving partner before you lose her forever. So it's a book for men to navigate a spiritual relationship, an elevated relationship, divine union. Some people say twin flames. And I see different definitions for those things. But when you find yourself in a relationship, and sometimes even where you're going at it with each other, that's a good thing. Because what tends to happen in a twin flame or divine union situation is your partner is your mirror. And they are mirroring back to you your own stuff, which is not pleasant, not fun. So when people hear twin flame or divine union, divine masculine, divine feminine...
1 second, Scott. One second. It's... We're having a little bit of interference here.
Okay.
Okay, I think we're better recording now. Okay.
Okay. All right.
Yeah.
And it's not a fairy tale. This stuff isn't fairy tale. You think, oh, I met my twin flame, we have a fairy tale relationship, or we're gonna have one. Ultimately, you will be so much happier having walked through this fire, but it is fire. And when someone is reflecting back to you your stuff, it's like, whoa, this is, and a lot of men don't know how to navigate this, which is why I wrote the book, Good Morning, My Queen, which you can find on Amazon. It's a lot of women are more emotionally intelligent. We know this, right? But they operate from with their head and their heart, whereas men tend to be mostly in the head, tend to be more cerebral. And, we like to talk about football statistics or engines and stuff like that. But if you want to talk about why people are doing the things they're doing in relationships, you'll jump in the women's circle to catch into that conversation and find out that kind of thing. And, they say that for men, the longest journey in his life is from his head to his heart. Okay? Mm-hmm. And for any men that are listening to this, I don't want you to be on your deathbed all of a sudden getting this stuff. That it would have been great if you got in your 20s, in your 40s, in your 60s, whatever. Because it's a better life to live, free of the stuff that happened to us when we were a kid that is still affecting us. You know, when you get in a fight with your partner especially, they always say the fight is never what the fight is about. Right? It's always about something else. And what men don't do is we don't look at what that is. We just fight or we just yell. And I'll be honest with you, there were some things I was doing in my fights that I regret and I don't do anymore, but I had some narcissistic tendencies. I did some gaslighting. And in my head, I felt like I was defending myself against a bully, but it didn't come off that way to her. And there were times where I felt abandoned, unloved, unworthy, or I was being made fun of, or whatever it was. Well, that is the signal, that pain, that hurt, to investigate. That is actually a treasure. There is a treasure to find here. Because when you trace that back to when it happened to you as a kid and heal it, and we can talk about all the ways you heal these things, but you know, loving on yourself is a good habit to learn. It's a good thing to open yourself up to. We weren't taught this as kids. Boys were taught, don't cry, do this or that, and parents want to see certain behavior, and if they see the behavior, they're pleased. But that doesn't mean inside here we were okay. We weren't. Okay? Same with girls, you know, same with women. And so it's a whole new set of muscles to learn how to self-love yourself. And let me tell you, it sounds a little feminine, it sounds a little flowery or whatever. Get over it. Because this is your health. This is going to make you healthier as well. But it's going to make you more in tune with yourself. You do have a heart. You do have feelings. Don't wait till you have grandkids or your own kids then your heart opens up. And you realize, oh, this is what love could be. When you have a partner, if you're lucky enough to be in love with your partner, it is a gift right there. To love somebody, to be in love with them. But then the work is just starting. Love isn't enough. You hear it all the time, right? Mm-hmm. And this is when we start to do the work. Okay? And what I'm here to say, and what my book says, is there are so many delicious rewards to get out of investing and dedicating yourself to your main love relationship. It is a beautiful thing. I've walked this journey, and so I know firsthand how this goes, and the hard parts, and also the rewards.
Absolutely.
And you know, yeah, and you know, a lot of people are trying to figure out what their purpose in life is. Mm-hmm. Well, I'm here to tell you, you can find a lot of that purpose in your relationship with your divine partner. Mm-hmm. A lot of people find purpose in having kids. Of course, that's instant. Like, okay, you know, there's something here I got to do for sure. Mm-hmm. But there's usually a lot more. Now, for me, it's writing. And I wrote that book. And I feel that when I'm writing, I feel like electricity is coming from my fingertips. And it's just channeling through me. I've gotten a lot of compliments on how the book is written and that it's easy, it's accessible, and that... Mm-hmm. The best stuff I can't claim, it just came through me, and I let it come through me.
Yeah.
But for people who haven't found their purpose, a good placeholder for it is the relationship, and in finding your way in it. Now, when we talk about the masculine is a wonderful, gorgeous, beautiful thing that's been much maligned these days, okay? You usually hear the word toxic attached to masculine. And... well, so we use the term divine masculine to differentiate it. And divine isn't religious. It's a very elevated sense of yourself. And there are many things in the masculine that if men lean into it, you will find many rewards. For instance, you know, providing, protection, you know, a lot of these things are masculine qualities. Well, some men might be a little intimidated by that. Well, I got to do that. What does that mean? It's like, don't worry. the most important thing you need to do is to learn how to be your most authentic self.
Yeah.
And work on that. Okay? So a lot of times when we get in a relationship, it sort of just happens. You know, the sparks fly and it's happening. And then it's like, oh my gosh, I'm in a relationship. Who am I at this point in my life in this relationship? And you look at yourself like, oh my gosh, I'm not, I don't have my career quite where I want it. I don't have this or that. Or I know I'm a little messed up. I know I've got some issues and I got some neediness, some insecurities. Okay, that's how it goes for most of us. That's how it is. And that is, so setting about to know yourself and work on yourself is a beautiful thing. I do recommend getting therapy, especially if you know you got stuff. You know, it's great to have somebody on your side who is just, they'll listen to everything you have to say. You can just dump and vent in ways that you shouldn't dump and vent on anyone else, even your partner.
Yeah.
Seriously, your partner's not there for you to trauma dump. Okay? And that's a tricky thing because we think we have these ideas about what a relationship is that are unconscious. And then we get upset when they're not satisfied.
Yeah.
When they don't come to fruition. So...
definitely, and I think to add to that, I just want to jump in real quick.
Yes,
just
please,
to add
please.
to that. To add to that unconsciousness that I've noticed with men is they have an unconscious desire or expectation for their wives or girlfriends to be their mother.
Okay, let's go there. Most men don't realize it. Most men, I don't think, realize it, and if they did, they would do a quick U-turn, or they would figure out, wait a minute, this isn't the man I want to be. So there is an issue out there, and in fact, there's been a lot of studies that have shown that women are doing so much more of the work in the home.
Yeah.
Whether it's with kids or without kids, they're doing the dishes, they're doing the laundry, they're doing this and that, and they also are working a job.
Yeah.
That's not cool, guys. That's not cool, and especially when there's kids. Come on, pull your weight, get off the video games. Okay, pull your weight. Don't be a character in a Reddit article that your wife or girlfriend is writing about, saying, don't be that guy. Okay. I read a lot of these situations there, and so here's the thing. A lot of men don't realize that a relationship is, I mean, you want to be great in your relationship in every way, right? You want to be great in the bedroom. You want to be great here, there, taking care of her. Man wants to be a man. Now, there is something, though, that men tend to overlook. Women maybe don't know quite how to articulate to us. But that is, they really want to feel safe.
Yeah.
They want to feel safe, which includes the word trust. There's a word accountability, which we can get into, which is real important. And you can become, men, a better man inside the relationship. I did it. I know. And I used the relationship to learn more about myself and to see where, for instance, I wasn't accountable in my life. Now, what does accountability mean? It means, yes, you know where your money's going, sure, you can look at it that way, but also you know where your energy's going. I'll be honest, I was a flirt before with women in relationships, but I didn't really know I was flirting. I just was this friendly guy, and there was one time where actually a woman was talking to some other women, and she claimed she had something going with me. And that was not the truth at all. I used to publish a magazine. I went to her home to interview her because she bought space in the magazine, and I never did anything that anyone could say you did something wrong, but my energy was telling a different story. I was in an unhappy marriage at the time, so I was doing something they call leaking energy, which means if you were with me, you didn't know what I was capable of. Yeah, I was leaking energy that spoke different language, that said different things, particularly to women, and that's not cool. you've heard of people having, and who you watching may have had this, experiencing emotional relationships with people at work, wherever, at the gym, and that's not cool. That is not cool. Or you're still following people on Instagram that you shouldn't be following because you can tell the kind of posts they're doing. Flirty is the small word for what they're doing, right? Mm-hmm. Thirst trap, I think, is the term. So you just want to command and be in command of your energy and know where it's going. Yeah. And this is part of the work you do. It doesn't happen overnight, but you do it. You read the books. You go to maybe metaphysical stores. You join these groups. You go get some sound baths. You see holistic healers. It's a conversation you get into with your mate, with your partner as well. And you get to a point where trust, there's so much trust that you can talk about this whenever you want. So, I might have said to my girlfriend at some point, wow, I felt that energy with me when I was with somebody, and it was like, and I could feel, oh no, that's not appropriate energy. And I pulled it back. She would love that I would share those things with her, would show that I'm in command of myself. I know what I'm doing at all times, my energy's doing, how I'm coming off. Yeah. And she so appreciates that. Absolutely. She loves when I share that stuff. Mm-hmm. And I'd be afraid to share that stuff before because, we'd get in arguments about stuff. Or she might say, what are you saying with that? Or, how are you being with that person? I'd be, what are you talking about? There's nothing going on. I'm yours. Well, it wasn't all kosher. So
absolutely. And that
I'm
builds...
sorry, I'm just talking.
No, it's good. It's good. Because we need people to listen, so it's good to express it. But that does build that trust, because if you're aware and you're cognizant of what you're doing and how it's coming across, and to have that vulnerability to share with your partner, that actually builds trust. And the fear can be, if I share this vulnerability, it could be used against me, or this will turn into an argument, or, etc. But you also mentioned, I think another facet of that is the nice guy syndrome. The guys who are
we mentioned that in another conversation. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes. So the nice guy syndrome. Oof. I was a people pleaser, nice guy, love bombs. Love bomber. So what that is and I did that particularly the first year of my relationship with my girlfriend. And I just wanted to make sure everything was perfect, everything was nice, because when we fell in love 6 years ago, oh my God, she was the one I was looking for. She was my divine partner. It wasn't my wife of many years. And it was on. It just was on, and it was a new world for me. And I just wanted to I thought you please people, and that's what you do in love. But it turns out when you're just pleasing and you're just making sure everything's good, that's not authentic. And at some level they feel that. They know that you're not being true. So what is that? That was me as a kid. When you have a parent that yell at you or beat you because you don't get the good report card or whatever it is. And just when there's that kind of chaos in the house and you're afraid, when the voices start to get raised, and so what do? You cope. You get coping mechanisms going on. You figure out, or do you become the joke teller? Maybe the jokes are what distract. You become sweet and nice. You become a worker or whatever. You make the dinners as a kid, or whatever it is. You got to look at that kind of stuff, because that is what is actually moving your life now, and you don't even know it. You just think, that's the way I am. Well, that's the way your programs are until you stop your programs, until you derail them to let the authentic you, wonderful you come out. So they call them limiting programs, fear-based programs, which can include religious stuff, which can include, sexual stuff, all kinds of things. And when you get in there and explore them, you become a better person for yourself. You free yourself of these things so you can be your most authentic self. And you find yourself sitting around going, oh my God, I'm I'm more of a badass than I used to be. I'm just so much more in touch with who I am and myself. It's funny because when I was a kid, I would always be amazed at people who just seemed to always know what's up. They always had an opinion that was like dialed in. They were connected, and I'd be like, "How the f do you know that? How do you do that?" I go, "How do you do that?" Because I was a kid who wasn't given that by my parents. It just didn't happen. They did their best. They did their best. They did great. I was supported in other ways. But with that, I had to pick up on my own. And that's when, you have to get to a point, ironically, where you don't care what people think about you. And that is the opposite of a people pleaser. Okay. And that's where I am now. I don't care what people think. I don't care if people think I'm silly for talking about divine union or divine masculine or feminine. I'm sure there's some guys out there that have stuff to say about that, or it goes against the grain of what the messages that are out there for a lot of men right now.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, a lot of men, you're actually encouraged to be heartless and have no empathy and no mercy, as long as you get yours, whether it's getting laid, lying to get laid, or investments, taking people's money where it's a bad investment, they're going to lose their money, whatever it is. We oh my gosh, guys are, and they're being led by these,
encouraged,
thank you, by these influencers. And it's like, no, it's not the way, guys. It's not the way.
No.
If it's too good to be true, it probably is. I feel,
Right. All of that. And Scott, you've broken out of that mode, and I can only imagine what challenges you had to face and what darknesses you had to face to get out of that. So my question to you, to express to the men listening and everyone listening, how did you get out of those programs and that conditioning, boys don't cry, be heartless, all of that? How did you combat that energy?
Sure. Well, for one thing, anytime I ever felt a cry coming on, I tried to let it happen. Even if it's just not that, sometimes it's by myself and I start thinking about something, let it happen. It feels good. It actually feels good. It's a cool thing. But okay, the major thing was my girlfriend was going to leave me. And I did not want that to happen. I loved her more than anything, and I said, uh-oh, this is serious. I need to look at myself. Yeah, and that's what it is for some people. Sometimes the fear of loss is what drives you, the fear of losing your partner. So let's look at one of the subjects I tackle in the book, and that is, a lot of guys these days, particularly guys, are pulled online to things. There's gaming, there's online gambling, there's pornography, there's OnlyFans, there's all that stuff. And talk about pulling your energy in directions that is not in alignment with your head and your heart. Ugh, no. So the thing is, though, with pornography, for instance, for a lot of us, it starts early. I was looking at my dad's magazines back when there were magazines, about this sort of thing, Playboy and all that. Back in the day, and it just went from there, and it becomes this thing men do in the shadows. I did in the shadows, and you don't talk about it. So when it comes up, and it will, because you get caught, or it just is clear that it's happening, and excessive use of, for instance, pornography is going to affect your relationship negatively. It's just going to happen. There's a lot of reasons for that. I go into it in the book. A lot of reasons for it, but the desensitization, the expectation, the distortion. You get distorted, and you can't help it. Now, this is like, before getting into bed, would you jump into a dirty lake with oil spills on it and then jump right into bed before showering? No, you would shower. And let me tell you, that's what you're doing when you're going into those waters. Yeah. And look, if you like, I'm not judging you. If you want to do it, and that's fine. Right. You're just don't want to hear what I have to say on it. That's fine. Go ahead.
Right. I want to add with that too, with what you're saying. I'm glad you brought it up because I was going to bring it up myself too. It's just anyone listening. The trap with the porn industry is that it triggers shame. And for men to understand and to cope with that shame elsewhere, and to really not embody that, because that's what shame wants you to feel, is dirty and bad and all of these things.
Yes.
And
Yes.
that's what gets triggered when you indulge in that, and so
That's true.
it's not to hinder anyone from whatever excitement they want, but it's to understand this is what the energy you're going to be gravitating into and towards you.
And a lot of shame comes after the fact, and it's why a lot of people who are in AA or NA or sex addicts. Sorry, I have allergies going on.
Yeah, it's okay. Yeah.
Yeah. Is it's like your problem is in a bottle, and then you cork that bottle with shame.
Yeah. Yeah.
And you walk around with it. You're miserable, and what you do is people in the room are talking about it, and you go, "Oh my God, that person just spoke about what they did. What they did was like a lot more than what I've done," and I feel like I can talk about this now. So the cork comes out of the
Yeah.
bottle. The shame is released.
Because
Yeah,
the
and you
irony,
stop punishing yourself.
exactly. The irony of it is it only can dwell in shadow. So
That's right.
when you expose it to light, it has no power
Yes,
over you anymore. It can't control
that's
you.
right.
You can't berate yourself over it anymore. So
And
I
what I
appreciate.
found, go ahead.
No, I was just saying I appreciate the
Oh,
openness to talk about these things, because that's what we
yes,
need. We need safe spaces where there's no humiliation or there's no
yes,
repercussion for talking about these things.
exactly, exactly. And I even heard there's some Christian churches that'll play a video of men talking about it, just very openly and vulnerably, which I'm sure helps. It's kind of shocking, but it also is helpful because it is insidious. And I see so many
Yeah.
guys online talking about it where they can't quit. They don't know how to quit. And what I've seen, a lot of people are able to quit when they realize that when it's become an addiction,
Hmm.
you now are dealing with dopamine hits.
Yeah. Yeah.
And what that is it's not just chasing the orgasm, it's chasing the dopamine hit. So
Hmm.
it goes something like this. A guy's sitting there in front of his computer, and all of a sudden he feels lonely, or he
Hmm.
feels depressed. He feels, something. He feels unloved, unworthy. My life is crap, whatever it is. Okay, right there. That's where you may need to get away from your computer, get up, go take a walk, okay, and then explore that. Or if you don't know how to explore, you don't feel comfortable doing it, do it with a therapist or do it with a holistic healer. You
Yeah.
can find them at your local metaphysical store. Just type in metaphysical on maps and go there. You'll have healing sessions with them. These things will come up. Talk therapy, regular therapist is great.
Hmm.
And you say, I feel this. I feel, why do I feel lonely? I mean, I don't think I'm lonely. And this, and you can work through these things instead of going to get that dopamine hit from masturbation.
Yeah. Yeah.
It when it gets to that level, what I was saying before is if you're looking at porn and it works for you, okay, fine. I would just suggest to people in that situation where they think they're fine with it, I suggest that all of that energy should be reserved for your queen. Give it to her.
Yeah.
She will love it. You will
Yeah.
benefit more as you pour all that into
Yeah.
her. You're not shooting your energy elsewhere. You're not
Yeah.
flirting with other people. You're not looking online at things. Don't even do it. Don't do it. I don't even
Exactly.
watch movies where I know there's something
Yeah.
twisted happening or
Yeah.
something
Yeah.
gratuitous. I can
Yeah.
tell. I don't want to watch that movie.
Exactly. Because
So
as it turns
so
out, yeah,
hmm
I didn't mean to interrupt, but as
no.
society is not set to help men harness their life force. It
That's
helps
right.
them disintegrate that, and
Totally.
you're either going to affect people in a positive or you're going to infect people, and that's where the
Good. I like
toxic
that.
masculinity comes in. Yeah, and so
That's right.
it's understanding that if you believe the society is for you, then you'll you'll take on these quote unquote things, and there's nothing wrong with these things in and of itself. There's nothing wrong with pleasuring yourself or anything, but it's about the intention and the energy. So if you're doing that out of a lustful place or out of a less than divine place, you're going to get less than divine results.
Perfectly said. I love that. Yes. Yeah. And guys, I'm saying to you, pay attention to your hurt. Pay attention to when your heart feels hurt. Yeah. And do something about it. Act. Yeah. Okay? Yeah. Like I said, there are groups and organizations. Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, definitely. There are those spaces, and definitely want to find those. I did want to ask, because there are so many distractions, there are so many other unhealthy coping skills that try to pull everyone's attention. What would you say, like, I think you're about to say it, like some of those helping spaces that can be like beneficial?
Well, first, make this your number one helpful, loving space for yourself. This is the beginning, perhaps, of your spiritual practice. Now, spiritual practice sounds a little, I don't know, however it sounds to you, it sounds to you. But it's really about getting to know yourself, because no one else is helping us with this. They don't teach this in school. Our parents aren't teaching us because they don't know. We're, in fact, very impacted by the things that they didn't get to do in their life. Yeah. And that comes through. They don't know it. It's just not known. So you don't know what you don't know, until you do. Right. And usually that just slaps you across the face in life, know. And so make it your mission to learn about yourself and how you really work. What's going on? Because let me tell you, everyone else around you knows how you work, because they see what comes out of you in arguments that you don't even see. People are seeing stuff about you. They might even be talking about you and saying stuff that you don't even know. Don't you want to know what that is? Don't you want to have control of that? Of course you do. You don't want to be letting stuff fly like that or being talked about. Not that, who cares what people say about us, but it can be instructive sometimes. Yeah. And just to know, there's stuff seeping out. Let me find out what this stuff is. So go to the metaphysical part of or self-improvement part of the bookstore, pull up some books. And I tell you, my phone, which used to show people twerking and stuff, and oh my crap! And let me tell you, this can be a temptation. It can start the temptation happening. It now gives me spiritual things. Emilio Ortez, it has a great podcast, and he just sent some video that he interviews people about this stuff. So now when I go on Instagram, when I look at Facebook clips or whatever, it's giving me spiritual stuff that I want from Wayne Dyer, from, whoever does it for you. And these people are great, and they're all about teaching you, they don't want followers. They don't want you to send money to them. They want to free you. And, people talk about it, especially in America, I want my freedom. Well, it's like, excuse me, you aren't free by a long shot. You are so wrapped up in limiting beliefs.
In the Matrix.
You don't even know. The Matrix, yes. So here's the thing. What you're helping yourself do is take the red pill. Okay? Yeah. The blue pill is same thing whatever. Yeah. But even that, people are getting shaken out of the blue pill lifestyle as well. It's not going to, it used to be, you work hard, you'll make a good money, you'll get a 401k, maybe a pension, you'll be able to afford a nice house, couple cars, child care if you need it. That's not the dream anymore. That doesn't work. You're going to get shaken out of that blue pill, very quickly these days. So, and life has a way of doing this to us anyway, so that people on their deathbed, there's a book called 5 Things Everyone Says on Their Deathbed or something. It's a good book to get. You don't want to be that person. You figure it out then. Oh, I should have loved my grandkids and my kids freely without judging them. I should have let my kids teach me life instead of me teaching them, which is what a famous poet said. Letting your kids teach you. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Mm-hmm. So love is the answer.
Yeah,
love
absolutely.
is the answer. And go ahead.
There was something that we discussed previously, and I don't think it's something that most men know, or just in general, it's not discussed. And it's something I'd love for you to elaborate more on, which is men having a wounded divine feminine energy, or a wounded feminine within them.
Yeah.
Because,
Sure.
like you said, love is the answer, and I feel like that is so. Oh, that's just what women do. You know, women are conditioned from birth, basically. You just focus on marriage and all that.
Yeah.
And so, like, how do you feel like that manifests in men, and how would you
Sure.
elaborate on that? Yeah.
Well, it's interesting. So this is getting into the advanced stuff where you find out, oh, I have an inner feminine and an inner masculine. I have both. Everybody does. Absolutely. And I'll give you an example of where that plays out. I know somebody who, in the female side of the family, all the women are super strong, and they kick butt and take names, and the men are weak, frankly.
Yeah.
The men
Yeah.
frequently they're unemployed, or they're just directionless, rudderless in life.
Yeah.
But because of that, and because they chose that, the women are all strong, and the women are, and they're resentful of having to be that strong.
Oh,
they're
yeah.
having to be, they feel the man.
Yeah.
And you can bet that that comes out in the arguments. But it's never resolved until maybe they get to therapy, because they haven't figured out yet that the women are having to use their masculine to get stuff done.
Yes.
I was going to say something else. Get stuff done, and whereas the men are not doing that, and the men don't know that they have it in them to do it, that it's right there, in fact. In fact, the design of it is so beautiful. It's right there. They just need to step into it. But no one in their life has given them the permission slip to do that. So any man watching this, and you feel that there's more that you could be doing, I give you the permission slip to step into that role. It's already there for you. The beauty of your masculine is just waiting to be harnessed and cultivated. And let me tell you something, when you start doing that, you become a leader in the relationship. And the women love that. They love the whole, going back to the whole trust thing, and the whole protection, providing. A woman wants to feel trust, wants to trust her man, not to have affairs. I mean, that's the obvious one, but trust that he can manage his own anger, that he's not flying off the handle, and this is crap, and this is crap, and always having complaints. No. You need to right that ship, because she wants to feel that even if you're not there where you want to be yet in your career, but you are working towards that. You are all about that. And you have plans, and you are executing those plans. Oh my goodness, she'll give you whatever you want. I mean, she'll have that sandwich cut in half for you, serving it to you. Or whatever it is that does it for you, whatever works for you guys. So being that kind of leader. So they say that women tend to lead the spiritual part of the relationship, and men lead the physical part. Okay, in this world, this is where we're going to live, this is where we're going to go, what we're going to do. But inside of that, the woman is saying, okay, spiritually, here's what's going on. Let her do that. Create a strong enough nest where she can do that and feel safe to do that.
Yes.
And that turns right back around and gives you accountability, and you get to work on yourself in that, and you get to check off things. Okay, am I doing that? This is my plan. Have I done this? Have I done that? And you feel better about who you are as a man. And then anything that comes up in life, you will always have an answer for it. You will always be in control of yourself, in control of the situation, but not in a way that's like a death grip. Because they say the wise thing is to hold on loosely to anything in life, right? Don't be too attached. Or, as they say, do what you need to do, live your purpose, but don't be attached to the outcome. Don't be attached to it. People make the mistake of, okay, I want this thing, I want to manifest this thing in my life, it looks like this, exactly like this. Well, put your your manifestation out to the universe, put it out there, work on it, do all the things, but then let the universe decide how it's going to be delivered to you.
Yeah.
Okay? So should we get a little more spiritual here? A little more into that? Because, okay, I believe we have a soul. I'm pretty sure most people watching this believe we do too. Okay, you have a soul. And the soul's going to go on after death, wherever we go. Okay? Reincarnation, you're going to, but right now, the soul, some people, I like to call it the soul that's in charge, my higher self. So I have a higher self that is directing me in life. And in fact, he's talking to me through my soul. My soul's talking to me, but not in English, not in a language, in impressions, little nudges, little pings. And we all know when we're in our flow, we're not in logic, we're not operating linearly. We are in this flow that when you look back, you're like, oh my God, isn't that amazing how that worked out? But I could not have planned that on my own. Yeah.
No.
Just like I couldn't have planned this book on my own, I let Spirit guide me.
Yeah.
And when you do that, oh my goodness, you're using your inner feminine. That is your divine feminine inside you, which, by the way, wants to join with your divine masculine. So, and when you have that union inside you, this is the advanced stuff, it is far easier for you to have that union outside of you with your partner.
Yeah.
It's going to be harder
As
to
within,
be...
so without.
As within, so without. As above, so below. And you will have a unity with your partner easier when you've gotten the unity inside yourself. Yeah. So men, take care of business. This is the real business to take care of. The business of you. Yep. I remember one day I was listening to a DJ and he said, he was just talking and he just went off and said, and he was talking mostly to young men because that's mostly who listen to his show. And he said, I believe every young man should take off on a weekend. Go check into a motel somewhere in a town you're not familiar with. Have a pad of paper. Sit down and write out your life. Write out your 5-year plan. Write out this. Write out who you are. Because there's a famous quote that says, most men lead lives of quiet desperation. And we see it all the time. We see it, oh my goodness, we see a lot of unhappy men in this world with road rage, with war, in politics. You see, we can see how these politicians were treated by their fathers very clearly. And and the reason for that, we all came here with a gift to give the world. Picasso said the purpose of life is to discover your gift. The meaning is to give it away.
Exactly.
Okay. And the design of the universe is such that because all the rest of us benefit. So here's the thing. But as a kid, you're taught just don't cry. Okay. Do what you're told. Get a job. Work for 50 years until you retire and try to have enough energy to travel. Okay. If you can do that. So okay, that's one life to live. But what about the life you came here to live? I always say, if you were born a carnation, don't try to be a rose. Okay? Your parents wanted you to be a lawyer or something. There's nothing about being a lawyer that attracts you. But guess what? If you want to be, and here's a popular one, musician. You can't make money being a musician.
Oh, yeah.
So what? The beautiful thing is, and the way the universe works is when you want to do something, and you want to follow Bashar, there's somebody out there, a spiritual teacher, who says, follow your highest excitement. No matter what you do, always and always, follow your highest excitement. Yeah. Whatever that is. And even if that thing isn't what you ultimately want to do, it will lead you to what you want to do. Exactly. And if you want to be a musician, life will take care of you. You may have to have a job to do this or that, or to support your art or whatever. But if that's what you came here to do, if you came here to play the dang banjo, do it. If you came here to play the drums, do it. Exactly. And you'll find a way to do it, and you'll be happier. You won't be one of these men who lead lives of quiet desperation. Yeah. Go ahead. Exactly. You want to say something?
And I agree, because what keeps this earth in the state of that it's in is people staying in that low vibration of desperation, or fear,
Yep.
or regret, or any of that. And so the more that you liberate yourself, the more that you actually are happy. That's
Yeah.
you're actually doing your purpose. You mentioned purpose and finding your purpose. It's always going to be
And you're
connected
serving
to,
the world. You're actually
yeah,
serving the world when you
yes,
be your
yes,
happiest self. A lot of people
exactly.
say, I want to change the world. I want to do that. Well, hold on, slow down. It's like somebody said, when I was clever, I wanted to change the world. When I
Yeah.
became wise, I changed myself.
Mhm. Yeah.
And it just so happens that the world is best served
Yes.
when you are being your happiest self, doing your gift that you came here to do. That's what
Exactly.
we need from you.
Yeah.
And please stop hiding your gift. Stop being
Mhm.
stingy with your gift. Get it out there. We need that. And there's people who specifically need it from you, and
Mhm.
we all will benefit when you do it. Now, if you
Yeah.
don't know what it is, and you've tried looking, follow that advice of Bashar. Follow your highest excitement, whatever it is in that moment. What is your highest excitement? Follow that. When something is
Mhm.
higher, follow that.
Yeah.
Follow it as far as you can follow it,
Mhm.
and then go to the next highest excitement. That makes such sense to me.
It
It
does.
it
And they
just yeah,
yeah, they also say, go back to what you enjoyed as a child, because we lose that sense of that inner knowing that we
yeah,
all come in knowing exactly who
yep,
we are. And oftentimes we're either shamed, ridiculed for the things that are actually our gift and talent. So we have
yes,
to dive into that shadow work of healing that and reclaiming
that's
that.
right. That's right. So that you that's a popular phrase, shadow work.
Right.
And it's not negative. Shadow work is not negative. In fact,
No,
there's treasure in the shadows.
absolutely.
And then it becomes your superpower once you heal it.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So it was
exactly.
put there for a reason. And let me tell you, the work you get, the benefits of doing that work and persevering are going to show in your face, in your aura, in your energy, in your life,
Mhm.
your life. And I know that even Jesus would tell people, he would say, "Yeah, don't go do this or that. Don't go proselytizing out there, or necessarily just sharing what I'm sharing. Do the work.
Yeah.
Actually forgive somebody who wronged you, because only in that is where people actually learn, and their heart actually shifts. Like, dang."
Yeah.
He just forgave that person, or he just forgave
Yeah.
me, and I don't feel I
Yeah.
deserve. Wow, that's love in
Mhm.
action.
It is. And
And
that's that.
that's
Yeah. Go ahead.
no, that's love in
Yeah.
action, and that's where the shifts really happen.
Yes.
And that's it's not just hearing spiritual talk and repeating it. You can talk the talk, and that was me for a while. I could talk the talk, but I wasn't
Mm.
walking the talk.
Mm.
I could cleverly respond to this or that until
Mm.
I started embodying it and actually doing
Yes.
it, and actually
Yeah.
forgiving people or loving on
Yeah.
people that I wasn't before. And that's all the difference. That's the
Yeah.
difference.
Exactly. And it
Embodiment.
builds such yeah, embodying that really builds such compassion for ourselves and for
That's
others,
right.
because there's a time that you're going to need forgiveness, or there's a time that you were that person or that version, or made similar
That's right.
mistakes, and when you're able to extend that to someone, you know and
Yep.
understanding that we all wound each other because we're all wounded. So it's a
Yes.
natural cycle, and when you choose to forgive, you break that cycle.
That is
Yeah.
correct. That's how you do it. And
Yeah.
on the outside of it, it sounds a little harder. Like, oh, I don't know about that. That sound.
Mhm.
Trust me, it's part of the process. You will love yourself for it.
Mhm.
You will come
Yeah.
out of it a much more loving person.
Yeah.
And let me tell you, there are not a lot of breadcrumbs out there leading in this direction. In fact, I'll just mention a political figure. Elon Musk has said that the greatest weakness of Western culture is empathy.
Oh
Excuse
wow.
me? That's our greatest strength. But let me tell you,
Mm.
so
Yeah.
he's got quite the journey from his head to his heart. I hope he gets there sooner rather than later. He has a lot of kids to love and care for, and give medical care for, as I hear. But that is the sign of somebody who was. It's like you want to say to that person, who hurt you? Who hurt you as a kid?
Right,
Where
right.
empathy
Yeah.
is the worst thing. And then the other multi-billionaire, Jeff Bezos, said he wants his employees of Amazon to wake up frightened, to be frightened daily in their life, so scared of losing their job. It's like, what are you talking about? That is not a quality of life. And I know it's not a quality of life he lives. You know, he's getting his massages and, you know, getting good quality of life thing. Go ahead.
And, you know, to that point, what I've really come to learn is that everything has purpose. So for someone like Elon Musk or Jeff Bezos, they're serving their own purpose, and it may not be to heal. It may not be to take that journey. But I feel what it does is it gives other people the opportunity to say, do I want to work for someone who wants me to be living in fear, who wants my nervous system dysregulated, who wants me to suffer? And it gives us the opportunity to realize, wait, we have the power the whole time. You're nothing without your company or without your employees or without people worshiping and supporting you, quote unquote.
That's right.
So I feel like that that darkness or that shadow serves a purpose, and
you're right.
It's like just allowing that,
Absolutely. In fact, somebody told me recently, they said, if it wasn't Trump and Elon Musk, it would have been somebody else disrupting things, because we did need some disruption. We did need this. And a lot of people have felt that there was this big spiritual transformation happening on the earth, and then these elections didn't seem to support that. Well, actually it does, in the way that you're talking about. Because I believe,
yeah, exactly.
I believe you choose your parents. You choose the kind of life themes that you want to explore while you're down here.
Yeah.
And 8 billion people came here now to party. And when I say party, I mean become healers, to help pull people from the shadows and show them that there are shadows, that you just went down a rabbit hole for years earning money. You thought you were the best thing, but actually you were going darker and darker. It's okay. You know, the dark, these people did come here to play that role. You know, and there's that story called The Little Soul from Neil Donald Walsh, and this little soul is up in heaven and goes into God's court before all the angels and everything. And God says, what can I do for you? And the little soul says, well, I heard about this place called Earth, and I wanted to experience this wonderful thing I heard of called forgiveness. I wanted to experience. I hear it's amazing. And God says, okay, well, if you want to experience it and we send you down, somebody will have to go down with you to smite you.
Ooh.
Who? And one person raised their hand and said, okay, I love you that much that I will do that for you. I will be the one who goes down and smites you.
Yeah.
So whatever that means, and that can mean a lot of things. That can mean a lot of things that, that can mean abuse. That can mean being fired later, whatever it is.
Yeah.
And that's how it goes. That's the purpose of life. We fulfill these roles. We do these things. So you are absolutely right. I'm glad you brought that up.
Yeah. Yeah, thank you. No. And, it goes back to that divine union, that divine path. Those divine connections that enter your path are always there to help you. Whether it's a karmic who's there to teach you a lesson, whether it's a soulmate that encourages you, whether it's a twin flame journey. And so I wanted to ask you, because I noticed this in the masculine consciousness, that the divine masculine tends to be the runner out of the union. So I wanted to ask you if you've experienced that and what you would say towards that. And that could mean, lying, cheating, whatever. And that's kind of combined with something else I've noticed is there seems to be such a stronghold of deception or lies told from men specifically. And they'll be caught red-handed and they're still lying. I'm just like, you see your name right here. You see your signature right here. And no, that's still not me.
You're not seeing what you think you're seeing.
Exactly.
Yeah, about that. Um, so they're confronted by something in their woman. They're confronted by something that was not cultivated as a child, that was not loved, and so they're running now. Also, the thing about wanting attention from other people. So they
Mm-hmm.
don't have a good sense of themselves when they want to have a couple women on the line. Um, they don't have a good sense of themselves. They are lost. And the sooner they at least just realize it, just go, hold on. I don't even know who the I am. I don't, I'm doing this and I don't want to do that. Or that doesn't look, that's not me. That's not the me I want to be. They have to have what I call a come to Jesus moment. They have to have a moment, and I don't mean religiously, unless you want it to be, but I
Right.
just mean, come on, man. Grow up and just look at yourself. Look in the mirror and
Yeah.
ask yourself, is this the man I want to be? Is this the man that I am? Am I reflecting out in the world who I am in here? Or is who I am in here just scrambled by so much online stuff? And when I wake up in the morning, instead of meditating, I go right to my phone. And in the evening, I don't meditate. I forgot, I didn't mention that. You got to meditate, guys. Meditate. It will show with your woman. She will appreciate it. The world will appreciate it. You will appreciate it. And there's
Mm-hmm.
many different ways to meditate. And the easiest one is just go on YouTube, type in guided meditation, and whatever you type after that, they'll give you. So, guided meditation for anxiety. They'll give you 10 meditations you listen to for 20 minutes. I like to lay down. And, or guided meditation for meet your spirit guides. That's a cool one. Guided meditation for whatever, for relationships. Guided meditation
Mm-hmm.
for self
Mm-hmm.
knowledge. Oh my goodness, these are awesome.
Yeah.
And then they walk you through the steps. Now, my favorite meditation, Ram Dass taught it, other yogi masters have taught it. It's usually first thing in the morning, 20 minutes. I set my timer because it feels like, isn't it 20 minutes yet? It's only 10 minutes, Set the timer for 20 minutes, then forget about it. Lie down. All you do is one thing: follow your breath. That's it. Now, it's simple, but it's not easy. Okay? And you can imagine blue smoke, if that helps you visualize the breath going in and out, but just follow your breath. What this does, because people say, oh, I got these crazy thoughts going all over, I got a monkey brain, I can't calm down, I can't. Thoughts are fine. Thoughts are normal. Thoughts
Mm-hmm.
are constant. They don't go away. It's like a ticker tape, right, at the bottom of the screen, this thought, this thought. But
Mm-hmm.
guess what?
Mm-hmm.
A lot of people believe they're not your thoughts anyway. These are not your thoughts. They're just random stuff. The only thoughts that matter are the ones you put energy into. So if thoughts are going by and all of a sudden, you
Mm-hmm.
put your thought, well, then it's yours. Then you got to claim it, whatever it is. So be careful.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah. It looks like 1 second, Scott. It looks like the recording stopped on your end. It just okay. I just got a notification saying that you weren't being recorded. Um. Okay. Oh. Okay. Okay. Well, then that's fine. I don't know. I just yeah. We'll keep going. Yeah. Yeah. Mhm. Right. Mhm. Yeah. Mhm. Exactly. Mhm. Yeah. Yeah. Mhm. Now, yeah, to that point of people just feeling off or weird or like unsafe or anything like that. And that's what I usually tell like a lot of men, don't try to be a good guy, try to be a safe person. Try to be a safe person. And one thing I've seen that has been kind of a theme that I've seen coming up in men is that there's, I call them the beta males, where there seems to be this like wanting to play victim, like, well, actually I'm the one who's disempowered. I'm the one who's actually hurting, and men have it just as hard as women, so you need to be kind to us. What would you say to to help elevate their awareness? Right. It's going out. I can't hear you. There we go. Okay, I couldn't hear you for a second. Mhm. 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 Right. Mhm. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Yeah. Oh, I've done it. Yeah. Yeah. And everyone else, please join us and do that. Yeah. 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 Mhm. Mhm. Exactly. Mhm. Mhm. Exactly. Yeah. Yeah. No. Exactly. Absolutely. Yes. Yes. Yes, absolutely. And with that, I just want to remind everyone that everyone is worthy just as they are. And being yourself, it's your birthright. And when you be yourself, you put in the world something that doesn't exist. And so there's no need to blend in or try to fit in. It's better to stand out and to take on that mantle of leadership or whatever it is, creativity, and to explore it and know that you're supported by myself, by Scott, other people like us. And every every person we meet is a mirror. So there may be blind spots that we don't see about ourselves, but to be open to people providing their feedback to us. Hey, I noticed this, or hey, is this, you know, and to really, instead of seeing it as an attack, see it as something to embrace and to learn from, that someone loves us enough to share with us that what we reflect in them. So I thank you very much, Scott, for being here with me, for being on this journey. I see your mouth moving. I don't hear you. There we go. I can hear you now. Yeah. Yes. Mm-hmm. Exactly. Absolutely. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. It does. Exactly. No, absolutely not. Absolutely. So, Scott, I want to, before we do close, I want to give you the opportunity to tell us where we can find you, where we can find your book. Tell us more about anything you have upcoming and anything that you want to share in closing. Mm-hmm. 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 Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Hmm. Absolutely. Yeah. Oh yeah. Oh sure. Absolutely. And I will also be leaving Scott's information in the description so that way you can readily find his book and all the information there. And I just want to say I'm so glad that you are encouraging the men's group because something I speak about is that back in ancient traditions, they used to have men provide containment to other men in the villages. So that way they could know what that felt like to be contained and also provide that to their significant others. It's just, yeah, it's providing that space. So, as you discussed before, the masculine energy is like a container for the deep ocean of feminine emotion. And so what we have is oftentimes people are not equally yoked. So you have this little container while you have this faucet of emotions, and it's not a balance. But it's because a lot of men have not learned how to provide containment. They haven't learned how to be a safe space to just hold space for a grieving person, a grieving woman, a irritated, off the handles woman. They haven't just sat with themselves to provide that the shell underneath the coconut or whatever you want to call it is something that contains the energy. And so we need more men providing that to young men or just men in general because there's such a fear of being close, and what we're missing is the physical touch of embrace from a man, even from a man to a man in a non-sexual way. Anytime, it breaks my heart when I see guys are so afraid to show affection. They have to dap each other up, or they have to give 1,000 pats on the back when they hug. They won't just say "I love you, man," or they have to say "I love you, man." They can't just say "I love you," period. So it's like all of these subconscious conditions really impact the way men understand and connect with each other. So I appreciate that you are doing this men's group and encouraging others to do it. Hold on, the mic patch of audio again here. There we go. Okay. Okay. Hmm. Absolutely. Again, thank you so much, Scott, for being my guest and for reaching out and starting this whole process. And I wish you best on your journey, on your continual journey. And everyone else, thank you for being here as well. And thank you so much. Until next time. Bye bye. All right, are you still here?